Hello, I'm Britt, and in this video I am going to be crocheting my very first sweater vest. One of the crochet projects that I really wanted to do in 2024 is the sweater vest. I've never crocheted any article of clothing for myself other than a hat and a headband, but in 2024 I really wanted to crochet a sweater as well as a sweater vest. In this video I am going to be talking about my process of making my very first sweater vest. Today is Friday, January 5th. It is 1:30 p.m. and I'm hoping to get most of the sweater vest crocheted over the weekend. Tomorrow it's supposed to snow. I'm not really sure how much snow, but it should be a nice cozy weekend in which I can do some crocheting. This isn't going to be a tutorial, but I will talk you through the process so that this might help you with your own experience of crocheting a sweater vest. I'm going to check in a few times throughout the process of crocheting it and talk about challenges or like solutions that I found to those challenges, and then of course I'll show you the finished product, which hopefully turns out really cute. I thought that crocheting a sweater vest would be easier than crocheting a sweater. I've done neither yet, but in watching various videos about how to crochet these two tops, it seems that the sweater vest isn't necessarily going to be easier, it's just going to be a little bit different. I thought because it was less material it would be easier, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's different. With the sweater, most of the sweater patterns, you just do the front panel, you do the back panel, and then you do essentially two long rectangles for the sleeves and then sew it all together and add some ribbing. With the sweater vest, you would think it would just be the same thing, but no sleeves. And it can be, but if you want one that is a little bit more shaped to the body, you're actually going to want to do a front panel that decreases as you get to the shoulder so that it kind of cuts out where your arm is. You can make a sweater vest that just comes out straight and then you're going to have a little bit more boxiness around the shoulder, but I want to make one that's a little bit more shaped to my arms and my shoulders. So I am going to be mostly following the video that Cherilyn Q put out about crocheting a houndstooth sweater vest. I don't want to do the houndstooth crochet stitch, so I'm going to do my own stitch, but I am going to use her general technique of crocheting the sweater vest, and I think I'm going to do the front panel first, the back panel, sew it together, and then add my ribbing at the bottom. There's kind of two different ways to do it. You could do your ribbing first, and your ribbing is that that strip along the bottom of the sweater vest or sweater, but I think I'm going to do the sweater vest first and then add the ribbing. I just want to see the sweater vest in the bulk of it and then eyeball how thick the ribbing is from there. And I also think I'm going to do a v-neck like she does in her video. I'm going to show you the materials I'm going to use to make this sweater vest, and then I'll talk about the stitch that I think I'm going to use for it. I have a few skeins of this really pretty, I love this yarn, spring green acrylic yarn. This is a 4 medium weight and it is 252 yards. I'll show you that label, rotate it so you can see the details, and it is in spring green. And this one is $4.99 a skein. So I think I have 3 of these. I'll let you know how much I end up using at the end of the video so that you can have an idea for yourself. And then, so this is going to be the bulk of the sweater vest, the front and the back panels. And then I'm going to use, I love this yarn in the color mid green, which is another acrylic yarn that I think really complements this variegated yarn very well. So I'm thinking that this is going to be such a pretty sweater vest, I hope anyway, and I really hope that I actually wear it, or that it's nice enough to where I want to actually wear it. But both of these yarns are 4 medium weight, and I'm going to be using this 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and you can use just any 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, but I like these that are like, I think this is aluminum, and then I like the grip handle. It's just nicer for me to hold it. In watching all these videos, I learned that you want to measure your bust to know how wide to make your sweater. So mine is probably going to be about 34 or 35 inches long. And if you divide that in half, they'll be about like I don't know, like 16 or 17 inches for the front panel, and then for the back panel, I'll let you know how much I end up chaining for that too. As for the stitch, I'm not totally sure. If I were doing a sweater, I'd probably do a single crochet stitch so that it's nice and tight and warm, and I don't have to worry about like kind of peeking through any of the stitches to what I'm wearing underneath. But since this is a sweater vest and I do intend to wear something underneath it, I'm not quite as worried about it being a very close-knit stitch or like super warm. I just want it to be like mostly covering the undergarment. But I did see this one stitch in Everyday Crochet by June Gilbank, which is a crochet book that I bought last year. One of the stitches in here under easy stitch patterns is the granite stitch, which is also known as the moss stitch or the seed stitch, and this is what it looks like. And I think this stitch looks really nice, and I think it'd look really good as a sweater vest. So I think that this might be the stitch that I'm gonna go with. I've never tried it before, so I think I'm gonna do like a little swatch like one of these just to practice it, to see how it looks and how it goes. And then probably that's what I'll end up using if the trial run goes all right. So that is pretty much what I have in store for the sweater vest project. Hello, today is Friday, January 12th. It is 12:45 p.m. And the first thing I would like to say is I was so silly for thinking that I was going to finish crocheting the sweater vest in the weekend I started this vlog. It pretty immediately became apparent to me that I was not going to get the majority of this done over 2 or 3 days. And I probably could have if I was crocheting non-stop, but I like to do a lot of things, so what I have to show you now I didn't actually finish until Wednesday. So I finished the front panel, but let me catch you up a little bit before I show you how it turned out. I did end up going with the granite stitch that I mentioned in my last update. In doing some research and in light of the color of the yarn I'm using, I'm deciding to refer to it henceforth as the moss stitch, which it also goes by. I think that the variegation and the colors of this yarn make me think of moss, and I just love the name the moss stitch, so I'm gonna refer to it now as the moss stitch. So I did do a little sample swatch before I began making my sweater vest, and it took me a few tries, and it seems like some people have different approaches to it. It took me a few tries to figure out what I liked, and then I was ready to go. And it's pretty easy, and it works up really quickly because what you're doing is you're doing a single crochet and then chaining one, skipping the next stitch, and then doing a single crochet and a chain and repeat. So I really like this stitch, and I'm glad to have learned it. I've been taking very careful notes throughout this process so I can relay to you what I've been doing and for my own future sweater vest endeavors. I originally chained 50 because I heard somewhere that like when you measure yourself and you do the foundation chain, you like stretch out the chain, and that's how long it is. But in doing like 2 or 3 rows at a chain of 50, it became apparent to me that it was probably going to be a little bit too tight, and even though it would stretch, I just didn't want it to be that snug. So I tried chaining 54, and that was still too tight, so then I ended up going back and chaining 60. So the current iteration I have was with a foundation chain of 60, and once I do the back panel, that'll work out to be 120. Well, I guess I'll show it to you now so that you can see what I'm talking about. Left a lot of yarn at the ends at the top of the sleeves because I think I'm going to use those to sew them together, but let me hold it nicely. This is what I have so far. I ended up doing about 32 rows up until this point, and that was pretty easy. And then I started decreasing for these next few rows, and then once I got to here, I just did this part, fastened off, and then added added this separately and crocheted up from there. The tricky thing with doing the moss stitch is that I was trying to figure out how to decrease, because it's not the same as a single crochet because you're skipping every other stitch with a chain one. So I looked up a few YouTube videos. I'm still not sure that I decreased these right. They did decrease, but I don't know if my technique was correct. I was trying to record myself as I was working those decrease rows, but it ended up being challenging because I was trying to figure out what I was doing while also recording, and so I ended up frogging some rows, and it wasn't working out for me to record myself trying to crochet those. So I don't know that it would have been any help to anyone who was watching it. I don't think it looks bad at all. It's probably not like the cleanest decrease ever, but it did the job. This will come up to here. I'll make the back panel mirrored, except I will fill this in. I won't do two separate sleeves, and then I'll sew it together on the top here and the sides down here. Now this does look like a crop top, but I'm trying to remember that I'm going to add about 2 inches of ribbing at the bottom, so it'll actually probably hit my pant line after that. And then I was also thinking about the armhole, but it's going to have ribbon around it too. I wanted to make sure that the armhole was big enough to account for that. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. It doesn't look bad. The V-neck does kind of, I think it's kind of obvious it's not totally symmetrical, but I'm hoping that the ribbing will help hide that a little bit, and I'm not sure how this is going to end up laying or how it'll fit on me. This could turn out horrible, this could turn out so freaking cute, but I guess we'll have to wait until I finish the back panel and put it all together before we find out how it turns out. I have a pretty thin waist. I'm thinking that doing 60 chains for the back panel and sewing it together will be enough, but my consolation is that I'll first sew together the tops of the sleeves, and then if it's obvious that the ends of the sides don't fit together easily, then I'm thinking I might just crochet like a rectangular strip and have it kind of go between the back and front panels, because I think that would probably be a good way to add a little extra room in the sides if needed. I'm happy that I was at least able to get this done and it doesn't look like a total mess. I was kind of, like I said, I was kind of making things up as I went along, but this is how much of the skein that I've used so far. I would say I probably used maybe half of the skein to do what I have so far. Yeah, this stitch marker in the middle here was to mark the middle of that row where I started working up the sleeves. Funnily enough, I ended up doing 32 rows for the base and then 32 rows from the decreases to the top of the sleeves. I decreased 2 stitches for 5 rows for the armholes, and then I didn't really do any decreases once I got to the sleeves, because I just didn't know how to do it, and it would have withered away into like 1 stitch per row if I kept decreasing, because I think as it is, I think there's about 5 stitches across in this. But that's also, it's probably more like 10, because like I said, you single crochet, chain 1, and the chain 1's kind of like, it's like, does it count as a stitch or doesn't? I don't know. But yeah. I really like how the stitch is looking though with this yarn, and I think it's really pretty stitch for a sweater vest. That's my update. I'm gonna start working on the back panel. I don't know how long that'll take me, and then I'll show you how it goes. So wish me luck. Hello, today is Sunday, January 14th. It is 10:30 a.m. and I finished the back panel for the sweater vest, and it turned out like this. It pretty much looks exactly like the front did, except for this is filled in the middle. And then I went ahead and single crocheted the sleeves together, or the neck hole together. So it looks like this so far. And I haven't done the sides yet because what I did is after I attached these together, I put it over my head and took a look to see if the sides would fit, and I think it would be a little tight, so I'm going to somehow crochet like a side panel to extend the width of the sweater vest. And at this point, I'm feeling a little bit discouraged because I don't think that this is going to look very good just with how it's shaped here. Word to the wise, do the back panel first because that will help you to strategize shaping the front panel and the measurements for that and the stitches that you'll need. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was just eager to do the front to get the hard part over with, but I should have done it the other way around. But I'm not liking how the front panel is shaped. I think it's a little bit too like straight here. I wish I would have been able to like kind of taper it more or something. Maybe the armhole's too big. I don't know. We'll see when it all comes together, but yeah, at this point I'm feeling discouraged. Like, this is not going to look very good when it's done, but we'll see. Maybe the ribbing will change how it looks to me, but that's where I'm at as of today. So I'll let you know once I put it all together, and then we'll face our moment of truth. Hello, today is Monday, January 15th. It is noon, and yesterday I finished sewing together the front and back of my sweater vest. I do have a little bit more hope that it will turn out at least somewhat cute and wearable, but at this point I am chalking this up to, at bare minimum, like worst case scenario, is at least a learning experience. This is the first time I am crocheting a garment to wear, so I have to have a little bit of grace for myself that it's not necessarily going to be perfect. Just because you watched a couple YouTube videos doesn't mean that it's going to be flawless. There will be bumps and errors and opportunities for learning better for next time, because I'm definitely going to try to make more sweater vests in the future, and it'll be fun to compare the better ones with this first draft. So I'll let you know what I did. I did end up crocheting 2 like side panels to give it a little bit more room on the side. I ended up chaining 16, and then I just eyeballed it until it was the same height as this section of it, which is about 32 rows. And it was at the point where I was chaining the side panel that it occurred to me something else that I learned in this process, that when I am measuring for the foundation chain when planning to do the moss stitch, I need to account for the fact that I'm skipping the first 4 in that foundation chain to begin the row. When I was doing the foundation chain, I was just measuring it as like one long piece, and I wasn't taking into account that those last 4 stitches would be turned up ways like this for the end of the row. So now I know that, so that explains why this was a little bit tight around the middle area once I got it all complete. Another thing is that even though it fits around the sides now, that isn't really going to change or make better where this middle part is on me. So I tried it on, and it does like cover my bust, which it's almost funny because it almost looks like it's gonna like come around and like frame it or something. So adding onto the side just makes these middle pieces seem that much more tighter in the middle. I think the neck hole is a little bit too small considering that I was going to do like at least an inch of ribbing. So now, even though I'm still going to do ribbing on the armholes and the bottom of it, I'm really not going to have much room to do that for the neck hole. So this is a little tight. I also wish I would have shaped this a little bit more. I think one of the issues too is that this, I feel like I did too dramatic of a decrease, because this Like this section right here, I feel like should be filled in more for it to kind of match more what I had in mind. It does fit. Like I said, I tried it on. It's a little bit wide now around the mid area. It kind of like does that thing where it floats. Like it's a little bit, yep, it does this. And so I'm going to see if I can mitigate some of that random floatingness by cinching the ribbing a little bit, like cinching the bottom of this a little bit when I do the ribbing. That is my next move. So I'm hoping to get that done in the next couple days. And then it will be the moment of truth, how this turned out. I'm feeling like a little bit better about it overall because I am reminding myself this is the first time I've crocheted a garment. Like it's fine. You're learning a lot from it. Even though it is a little disappointing to put in this much work and it not turn out like what I had in my mind. But it's okay, it happens. And at least, if nothing else, you can learn from my mistakes as well. We'll all learn together. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And I'll let you know once I finished it. Friends, I finished my sweater vest and I am truly, truly stunned. It's so cute! Oh my gosh, I can't believe I was so worried. I guess I just had to trust the process. But look how cute it is. The ribbing made such a huge difference. Without the ribbing, I wasn't even sure that I would ever want to wear this out in public, but now that it has the ribbing, I'm like, this is cute. I will wear this. Okay, so let me give you some close-ups. This is what the back looks like. And there's the ribbing along the bottom and the ribbing along the armholes. And obviously I could not fit as much ribbing around the neck, so I just did like a little bit of a border around the neck. But this turned out amazing! So I'm really excited to tell you what worked and what didn't work for me and how it all came together. But first, today is Saturday, January 20th, so it took me 15 days to crochet the sweater vest. The ribbing on the bottom really fixed that issue I was having where it was kind of triangle shaped when it was draped. With the ribbing, it made a difference so that it's not doing that anymore. It kind of like grounded it a little bit and cinched it a little bit to mitigate that issue. For the bottom ribbing, I chained 14, so I think it's just a little over 2 inches. I have to say, overall, the ribbing process took me so much longer than I expected. The bottom ribbing was pretty uneventful. I did this first, I learned how to do the process, and then I was like, great, now I'm gonna do the armholes. And I'm glad I did it that way because it gave me a chance to practice it. Okay, you know what, I'm just gonna move the camera. The bottom ribbing was ultimately pretty fine. When I got to the armhole ribbing, I actually had done the entire thing. Before I fastened off and sewed it together, I tried it on. And as you can see in this picture, I realized there was a lot of like gapping and like ruffling around the armhole, like around where the sweater vest curved. It was kind of a frustrating decision to have to make, but it was bothering me that it was kind of gapping like that enough to where I knew I should just take the time to fix it while I still could. So I ended up frogging it and redoing the armhole, and I realized something important, and it was a great learning lesson, as frustrating as a decision as it was. So let me kind of explain to you how to crochet ribbing on a sweater. I used Cherilyn Q's ribbing tutorial video, which I'll link in my description. Basically, to do the ribbing, you just attach your yarn to the edge of your piece, and then you chain up. I chained 6, and then you single crochet down, and when you get back to the sweater vest, you slip stitch in it twice, like along, and then you single crochet up the back loop only, back up, chain 1, single crochet down, slip stitch, and then crochet back up. And you just do that up and down, back loop only for the entire thing. Well, what I learned from my first round is that, especially around like this dramatic of a curve, instead of just slip stitching twice into the garment, I needed to slip stitch at least 3 times around this section because it was just too much yarn crowding the area. So I needed to stretch out those single crochet rows more. I don't know if that makes sense. I think that's the best way I can possibly explain it without showing you it. That made a huge difference. As I was going along, sometimes I would slip stitch 3 around here, and I think once I might have slip stitched 4 along here, but then as I got up to the straighter parts, I would kind of go back and forth. Like I'd eyeball it, like if I was slip stitching 2 or 3, kind of alternating around there. So that it was cinched a little bit without being too tight. So the technique for doing the ribbing is fairly simple. It's just single crochet back loop only and some slip stitches to attach it to the garment. But it was really tedious and it took a long time because they're little short rows that you keep having to do, and I would do like a couple rows and then I would hold it up here to see how it was draping, and then do a few more rows and then hold it up to see how it was draping, so that I was just continuously checking my work as I went along so that I didn't have to do that again where I finished the whole thing, held it up, and then realized a section at the beginning of the process was not looking how I wanted it to. I'm ultimately so glad that I just took the time to fix the armhole ribbing while I could. Now for the neck, as you'll recall, the neck I made really small unintentionally, so I could not do ribbing on the neck. I ended up attaching my yarn on the back in the middle, and I single crocheted around it and then single crocheted around it again. And on the second round through, I ended up kind of doing like the decrease on some of the parts because it was doing that like ruffly thing. So you can kind of see like around here, I kind of did a few stitches together so that I wasn't going to get that like ruffling or that like excess yarn crowding of the curve. Also, while I was working on the armhole ribbing, I started to notice some of these little guys. They just look like little fuzzies. I realized that these are some of the ends of the yarns that I wove in throughout the process, and it kind of occurred to me that this moss stitch is a bit of like a looser stitch, so I thought I was being very diligent in weaving in my ends, but I do recommend, if you use the moss stitch for a project that is going to be put to the stress test a lot, I would recommend weaving them in and cutting them off in a section where the stitch is a little tighter or there's a seam, so that you don't have one of those ends kind of work its way loose. You know, consider when you're weaving in your ends to do it so more in the tighter stitches or along the seams. So yeah, let me do that. Let me turn this inside out so you can see what it looks like from the wrong side. It looks pretty much the same, except for you can see where I single crocheted the different pieces together. Like there's my side panel that I added, and that's where I joined the front and the back panels. But the ribbing pretty much looks good from either side. I also promised that I would tell you how much yarn I ended up using. So for the spring green yarn, which was the main body of the sweater vest, I ended up using about 1.5 skeins, and they each contain 252 yards. For the mid-green yarn that I used for the ribbing for the project, I ended up using, I'm gonna guesstimate like 1/4 of this skein. This skein had a little bit more yardage on it. It was, I think, 355 yards on this skein, so definitely not nearly as much as I needed for the body of it. I have a ton of outfit ideas for this sweater vest. I will show you what it looks like over a plain white t-shirt. I really think this is a cute look, and I think that it's a really versatile garment. The sweater vest can go over a plain t-shirt. It's like white, black, maybe green or blue plain t-shirts. I also plan to wear this over turtlenecks. I have a white turtleneck and a black turtleneck I'd love to wear this over. Or I could also wear over a tank top and just wear it as a sleeveless sweater garment when the weather's a little bit warmer. Not right now. For now, I'll definitely be wearing this over turtlenecks because it is the dead of winter and we just got a ton of snow. I also plan to wear this over a collared shirt. I have a light blue button-up long sleeve shirt that I plan to wear this over. I would really love to buy a plain white button-up collared shirt too to wear this over. So I think this is just a really versatile garment. I'm so happy with how it turned out. Of course, there are little imperfections about it. Like I said, I wish I could have done a thicker ribbing around the neck hole, but overall I am really pleasantly surprised and excited about how this turned out. I'm so proud of this being my first attempt at crocheting a garment. It's so cute and I absolutely love the colors. I am calling this my moss sweater vest. My mossy little sweater vest, and I love it so much. Thanks so much for going along on this ride with me. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.